few months ago, they go to a lift after this party.
Do they?
They come here reasonably regularly, and I said I've got one of the walks a week or so ago, and so they'd be willing to, when they tell you both coming on the same Saturday, to give you a lift. If she's down here, if she's you're very kiddish afterwards.
I just realised because I'm with Shelma season, I'm doing her door, we'll do the mitzvah, dressed as a man.
Judy Sullivan, the husband is Philip. And she, as I say, she's one of the joined her because of the monthly for here.
Yes.
I don't know the address, but all I know is it's
Mark, do you fancy doing some lifting?
They come, so...
Go for it, yeah.
Is he doing some training for us?
Yes.
You could have this building country kids.
Yes. Well, I think, yeah, that's, yes, I don't know, but certainly I thought of you.
And it will be supervising the blind leading the blind.
Anyway, as I say, she's here today, but even if she's not, I'll give you her phone number.
It's this something is the first time because obviously the once you get to the
yes, better. Oh, you've been hasn't we? Not well, apart from his operation that was weeks ago. Yes, he's fine. Well, he's having radiotherapy. Thank you. But he had a scan, and that's very easy to recover well. Yes, thanks very much.
get you off the bar.
Yes, you ready?
I've got some old school friends in the printer bar before the lift coming on.
Yes,
So, my water. So that's just my water. No problem.
Right.
How's your mum doing?
She's good. Good. That's good to hear. This.
I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. You want to receive on that. Yeah, thank you. That's just it's not just
Yeah,
I think it is very strong. I can't say last or
I can't hear that way. Thank you. Ah, I'm going to say that. Looks as if you're doing it. Good. First of all, thank you. Thank you.
We're actually lyrical. Yeah, we could have just called it so that you need a picture. We packed all the probes. Oh, see, I'm quite on that.
Mine's all packed up. It's not too big for you.
Yeah.
It's too big for me.
Barcelona, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good morning. Hope you've all had a good sleep. I believe we're on page 112, and please stand.
Eternal God, a mystery surrounds my life. What came before it and what lies beyond it are shrouded in darkness. But in the darkness is your presence, and in the mystery your love. No mind can grasp the splendor of your being. No tongue express the majesty of your works. But there are times when we sense a reality that is beyond our mortal sight. May this Sabbath be such a time for us. Help us to hear your voice, to find your image in our souls, and to be at peace. Eloheinu shamashin atata vita hora ki. Ata barata, ata yetzarta, ata nefachta vi. Ata mishamra bekirbi. Kol zaman shehane shama berkibi, bekirbi. Modeani lefanecha, Adonai. Elohai velohei avotai. Ribon kol hamasim adon kol hanishamot. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basar ish. Praise be the one at whose command the world came to be. We praise you, our God, sovereign of the universe, worshipped by your people, lauded and glorified by those who love and serve you. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, sole source of the life of all worlds. We praise you, sovereign God, to whom all praise is due. To you the stars of morning sing, from you their radiance bright did spring, and steadfast in their vigils day and night your angels, flooded with fervor, ring your praise, and teach the holy ones to bring into your house the breath of early light. The heavens declare the glory of God. Day unto day utter speech. Yet there is no speech, there are no words. And still their call goes out to all the earth. God's teaching is perfect. God's word is unfailing. God's precepts are right. God's commandments are clear. God's doctrine is pure. God's guidance is true. They are more to be desired than gold, than any amount of fine gold. Your servant pays heed to them. Who is aware of errors? Hold back your servant also from willful sins. Then I shall be blameless. Hihiu l'ratzon imrefi v'hegion libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri v'govali.
אני מזמיר ושיר נרות, כי אליך נפשי תערוד. נפשי תמדה בצל ידיך, ותעת כל רצונך. מדי דברי בכבודך, עומד ליבי אל דודך. אליו נשליכי עליך, כי נפשי תערוד אליך.
And let's stand. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו. Lost my place. Velohei avotenu, shirush vacha, halel v'zimra, brachot v'hodaot, me'ata v'adolam. Baruch atah Adonai, avocher b'sirei zimra. And we turn over to 135. Baruchu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai hamborach, le'olam va'ed.
Let's be seated. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, maker of light and creator of darkness, author of peace and creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it, and in your goodness and in the creation, continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, creator of life. Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtani, Adonai. Chemla Gadol Avi Teirach Amalta Amenu. Avinu Malkeinu. Ba'avur Avotenu Shabbat Chuvacha. Vatlamdein Chukei Chayim. Ken Techonenu Lamdeinu. Aten Blibenu Labinu Laskil. Lishmoa. Lilmod Ulamed. Lishmor V'la'asot. Kayeme Kol Divrei Torah Techa. Ha'erenenu b'Toratecha, v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha, v'ched levavenu lahava u'yira et shemecha, kivanu b'charta v'yachedecha b'hava, baruch atah Adonai, alocher ba'amo Yisrael b'hava, and let us sing. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'leptecha b'derech u'shochtecha u'v'kumecha v'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot be'einecha u'chaptam al mezuzot be'techa u'visharecha. Please be seated.
Ani Adonai Elohechem emet.
V'yatzi v'yashar v'kayam v'tov v'yafeh hadavar hazeh aleinu le'olam va'ed et sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Malkeinu melech Avotenu Yotzreinu tzur Yeshuotenu Kodenu matzilenu me'olam hu shemecha ein Elohim zulatecha Atahu Rishon, Atahu Acharon, Umibaladecha Eilanu Moshin. Mimitzrayim Ge'altanu Adonai Eloheinu, Beit Abadim Paditanu, Moshe Miriam U'Bnei Yisrael, L'cha'anu Shira B'Simcha Rava, V'amru Chulam.
Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha ne'ata b'kodesh Noda, Nodat et milot, O Sefer, Shira chadasha, Shibchu kulim l'shimcha, Azafat hayam yachad kulam chodu, V'chilichu v'yamru, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha ne'ata b'kodesh Noda, Nodat et milot, Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. Zu Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Golenu Adonai Sabaoth Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gad Yisrael.
Let's turn over the page and please stand. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, V'Mevi Geulah Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shmo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chaim Etim Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach L'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh L'Morid HaTal, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, V'chaim Etim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mkayem U'Nato L'Shenei Afar, Mi Chamocha Ba'al Geburot, Umi Domelach, Melech Ve'mitu Chayei U'Matziach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atala Hachayot Meitim, Baruch Atah Adonai, V'Chayei HaMeitim. We sanctify your name on earth as in the prophet's vision. The hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Kol haaretz kevodo.
Kevodo malei olam.
Malchut Adonai, v'kevodo.
Mimkom chamakein tofia, v'tim loch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach.
Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yitzion, le'olam hallelujah.
From generation to generation we will make known your greatness. To the end of time we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips. We praise you, eternal one, the holy God. And please be seated. We inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy, for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness. Consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
Yismachu b'malchutcha, shomrei Shabbat, v'chorei onem, mekadshesh v'yi, olam yismachu v'yitangu mituvrecha, v'hashmi asita bo, v'kidasho, and v'hashmi asita bo, v'kidato, v'endat yamim, oto karata, zechel Lamasei Bereshit.
Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who love your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, and we worship your reverence. Mogi Menach Nulach, Sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Leolam Va'ed, Sur Chayenu Magen Yishenu, Atahu Ledor Vador, Nodeh Lecha U'Saper Tilatecha, Al Chayenu HaMazrim Bi'adecha, Val Nishmotenu HaPukadot Lach, V'Al Nisecha Shebechol Yom Imanu, Boni flotecha b'tovotecha, shebachol eiterev v'boker b'tzoraim, Baruch atah Adonai, atov shincha v'lecha na'el avodot, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu v'ol kol Yisrael amecha, baruchenu avinu, kulanu ke'echad ba'or panecha, ki ba'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chayim, v'havat chesed, Utzedakah uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. V'tov beinecha levarechen amacha Yisrael. V'kol ha'amin. V'chol eitu v'chol sha'ah b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai. Osei HaShalom. Turn over to page 481 for our Torah service. There is none like you, eternal one among the God's people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting, and your reign endures from age to age. Eternal one, you reign, you have reigned, and will reign forever. Eternal God, give strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people with peace.
En kamocha Elohim Adonai Ve'en Masecha Malchucha Malchut Kol Ha'amim U'Memshaltecha B'chol Dor Ador Adonai Melech Adonai Malach Adonai
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God. The Eternal God is one. Let us magnify the Eternal One. Together, let us exalt God's name. obviously. I'll be reading from the siddur known as Nitzavim, and it's chapter 30 of Deuteronomy. And I will read from verse 11 to verse 20. And in the JPSA, it's on page 322 at the very bottom. It begins. And in the Soncino, it's on page 1143. So this is part of the Torah reading that we will be reading shortly on Yom Kippur. And it's so central to the human experience in every moment of our lives. And very much a concerted sense over the Yamim Noraim. In essence, it's this. We always have choices. We may not think that we have choices, but we always do have choices, and no matter the circumstance. Our choice may be rather small, and obviously I am precluding severe physical illness or trauma and or emotional illness or trauma. But if we are even halfway, maybe a third of the way there in terms of health, there are choices we can make. And the reminder here is that the commandment to make choices, it's no esoteric thing. And let's choose life and make positive choices rather than choosing death. And I'll expand on that a bit this morning in my remarks from one perspective, which is kind of a lead-in to the other perspective, which will be on Monday morning. So hopefully there is a thread. Would you boys like to do the blessings? No? We'll do some brachas.
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaMavorach. Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol HaAmim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Surely this instruction which I enjoin upon you this day is not too baffling for you, nor it is beyond reach. It is not in the heavens that you should say, who among us can go up to the heavens and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it. No, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart, to observe it. See, I set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. For I command you this day to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments, his laws, his rules, that you may thrive and increase, and that the Lord your God may bless you in the land that you are about to enter and possess. But if your heart turns away and you give no heed, and are lured into the worship and service of other gods, I declare to you this day that you shall certainly perish. You shall not long endure on the soil that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, if you and your offspring would live, by loving the Lord your God, heeding his commands and holding fast to him. For thereby you shall have life and shall long endure upon the soil that the Lord your God swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them. כי המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווך היום, לא נפלאתי ממך, ולא רחוקה היא, לא בשמיים היא לאמור, מי יעלה לנו השמיימה ויקחך לנו, וישמיענו אותה ונעשינו. ולא מעבר לים היא לאמור, מי יעבור לנו אל עבר הים, ויקחך לנו, וישמיענו אותה ונעשינו. כי קרוב אליך הדבר מאוד בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. ואין נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב, ואת המוות ואת הרע. אשר אנוכי מצווך היום להבא את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו, לשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית, וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה בא שמה לרשתה. ואם יפנה לבבך, ולא תשמע ונידחת, והשתחווית לאלוהים אחרים, ועבדתם. הגדתי לכם היום כי אבות ובדון לא תאריכו ימים על האדמה, אשר אתה עובר את הירדן לבוא שמה לרשתה. העידותי בכם היום את השמיים ואת הארץ, החיים והמוות. נתתי לפניך הברכה והקללה, ובחרת בחיים למען תחיה אתה וזרעך, להבא את אדוני אלוהיך, לשמוע בקולו, ולדווקא בו, כי הוא חייך ואורך ימיך, לשבת על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיך, לאברהם, יצחק ויעקב לתת לכם.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Please stand, everybody. Please be seated, everybody.
Today's Haftarah is from Jeremiah chapter 31 verses 26 to 35, and it can be found in the JPS Tanakh on page 838. That's 838. Appropriately for this time of year, the theme is one of God's forgiveness and wiping the slate clean for the people of Israel, if they mend their ways. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim, v'ratzah b'divreihem, ha'namorim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, Abaher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'Nviim ha'emet v'tzedek. At this I awoke and looked about, and my sleep had been pleasant to us. See, a time is coming, declares the Lord, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of men and the seed of cattle. And just as I was watchful over them, to uproot and to pull down, to overthrow and to destroy, and to bring to disaster, so I will be watchful over them, to build and to plant, declares the Lord. In those days they shall no longer say, parents have eaten sour grapes, and children's teeth are blunted, but everyone shall die for his own sins. Whosoever eats sour grapes, his teeth shall be blunted. See, a time is coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their fathers when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, a covenant which they broke, though I espoused them, declares the Lord. But such is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after these days, declares the Lord. I will put my teaching into their inmost being and inscribe it upon their hearts. Then I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No longer will they need to teach one another and say to one another, heed the Lord, for all of them, for the least of them to the greatest, shall heed me, declares the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquities, and remember their sins no more. Thus said the Lord, who established the sun for light by day, the laws of moon and stars for light by night, who stirs up the sea into roaring waves, whose name is the Lord of hosts. If these laws shall ever be annulled by me, declares the Lord, only then would the offspring of Israel Israel cease to be a nation before me for all time. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Sur kol ha'min, Sadiq b'kol ha'dorot ha'ol, v'ne'eman ha'amor v'aseh, ha'madiber makayim sheb'kol divarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'nvi'im, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh. Shenat olanu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'dusha u'menuha, v'kavod, v'lifnot al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach. Mokim otach, yitvorav shimcha, b'fi kol hai, tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom, justice, tolerance, and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders, its members, and all who enter the synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain. And first of all, we have encouraging news with regard to Mike Solomon, that the latest scan is encouraging following his recent surgery, which is good news. Long may it last. Very aware this week of Barry Goodman, Trudy Goodman, also Ray Lubert's not so well. And would anyone like to mention a relative? Or
Stan Jacobs.
Yeah, Stan Jacobs, yeah.
Rhoda Coleman Heard's not doing too good at the moment.
That's right. Yeah.
And Robert Gelman had an operation a few days ago, but he's home and okay.
Good.
And our friend's mother, Hetty Ward, who has had good news from scans, but still needs to undergo an operation.
Yeah, okay, encouraging.
And Danny Green, who is an art teacher who I've known for, and a good friend of Week for us, who is very serious.
May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the house of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed. And may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will. Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty, justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Ki Nesgav Shemo Levado. Let us praise the Eternal One, whose name alone is exalted. Teaching is perfect. God's word is unfailing. God's precepts are right. God's commandments are clear. God's doctrine is pure. God's guidance is true. Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. So, Rosh Hashanah, very much about our relationship with what is around us, trying to make sense of what is around us, to think about what our relationship to it might be, as if there is an it. Things are so complex, where do we begin? And the challenge of choices. We always have choices in how we relate to those and what is around us. Well, today, very briefly, this is from, let's call it a psychological, or at the risk of being unintelligible, a psychoanalytic point of view. And Monday morning will be more of a sociological point of view. It takes in some of the psychoanalytic stuff, because it's all connected. And different disciplines have different ways, often, of expressing very similar things, even though they sometimes pretend to be at war with each other. So each of us, in some ways, is a victim. Whether in our upbringing, in relationship to our siblings, in terms of our parents, and what they said or didn't do or didn't say, and parents don't always get it right. What is the saying? The first half of our lives, or the first half of our life is ruined by our parents, and the second by our children. So at some level, we're all victims, and the question of choice is, well, what do we do with those feelings of hurt? And sometimes out of those feelings of hurt can come to be a kind of narcissism which blinds us to our buttons, and we go into autopilot. And one of the jobs of growing older is to understand what your buttons are, what sets you off, so that a sense of reason, a sense of calmness, deliberation in one's actions is swept away. At its worst, a sense of victimization and confusion can lead to a lashing out against others. And here we come into prejudice and what we call racism. And whether it's stuff directed against Jews, or stuff that Jews direct against others, or it's basically what people do to each other on an individual and or group level. And we all have the potential in some way or other to be and to act with prejudice. And there may be unconscious things going on that reminds us of a certain individual who may have done harm to us, or it may be a generalized feeling of insecurity and anxiety which is deflected onto something or somebody else. And the technical term for this kind of activity is called splitting and projective processes. So projection is when we project something we don't like or can't deal with in ourselves. We project it like a slide projector onto somebody else. So we see in others things that we don't like in ourselves, often at an unconscious level. So let's come to patient A. I just want to give a small example and make some comments. This is by it's called Racist States of Mind, Understanding the Perversion of Curiosity and Concern, which is very interesting because it could be argued that young children, I suppose beyond the terrible twos, curiosity and concern for others or about others is a fairly natural thing. So what takes that stuff away? And so a racist state of mind, a prejudiced state of mind, which is not necessarily a static thing, is a kind of a perversion of inborn levels of curiosity and concern. And this is a work about this country. A black patient of mine spoke about his first taste of racism in the school playground when he left the West Indies for Britain as a young teenager. A group of white boys proceeded to mock his skin color, which escalated into a frightening and menacing atmosphere when they formed a gang to get hold of his arm, to etch their hatred by repeatedly scratching it, shouting, and laughing while he was in pain. "Look," they said, "this black bastard is white underneath." It was an anxious but triumphant laugh as the violence escalated. The more the young black man was in pain from the sudden and brutal assault on himself, the more they laughed. In the intimacy of the consulting room, the patient wished to communicate to me the distress of his trauma in the school playground, which now linked up in his mind with an emerging fear of my presence and of the potential intrusion of the analytic process. Was our inquiry going to be as brutal as his experience in the playground in uncovering and understanding the difficulties that brought him to see me? And this narrative was also a developmental story that needed to be understood in the context of his own conflicts between leaving his native home and coming to a different land, to a future of possibilities, only to be met in the throes of his early adolescence with hatred and violence. So we have the trauma and the dilemma of the newcomer, of the immigrant. And this is so relevant because of what is going on in society today. How people project stuff onto outsiders. And also the other way around. The white teenager's encounter with this young man's black skin color was experienced as something internally intolerable, which could not be contained and was expelled in a violent way by attacking the youngster. But what was it that was so internally intolerable that it found an immediate hook in the external world by targeting the black skin of this young man? Perhaps it communicated how ill-contained they felt in their own skin in the face of change that was signaled by the arrival of a visually different person. So if somebody is uncomfortable literally in their own skin with themselves and their life and their future and their present and maybe their past as well, the presence of something different is a direct threat. That's an incredibly important concept. So the patient, this black man, got caught up in a complex process of projective identification where he became an opportunistic target for a conflict residing in the internal world of the white youngsters. When they saw the whiteness underneath his black skin, this in some way reassured them that there was nothing to worry about. He was the same as them. In other words, the victim of their attack reassures them that there is no rupture in the continuity of their own sense of self and no painful feelings of loss that are too difficult to manage. So this is the old narrative about psychic change and loss, which is revivified in the form of racial hostility. So it's about the conversion of anxiety to violence. Anxiety and aggression, two sides of the same coin. So what is so important is to understand in the discourse that is happening today, be it in this country, in the States, and in other places, the political parties, and everything that's going on, that if there is prejudice, if there is racism, it's more about the doers than the victims, and how is it that the victims or the perceived victims actually cope with it? Do they lash out and their buttons are pressed and they in turn create this cycle, this mirroring, which I believe is what is happening with the Labour Party and also in Israel. It's also up to the victim or the perceived victim to manage their own feelings as well. Yes?
You see this classically with homophobia, where young men and older men who are challenged by, worried about their own sexual identity, take it out on people that are openly homosexual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's difference that is the problem, and difference from the ways that we try and code or disguise or create our own narratives. And nobody's own narrative is perfect. We all have ambivalence, and it's about the inability to cope with that stuff about ourselves. So we come into Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. It's a poor person psychotherapy. 10 days of sticking yourself on that couch and self-examination. And this idea that evil is done by, Cruella de Vil and people like that, and wicked laughter and the Joker and all that sort of stuff. It's done by ordinary people who feel somehow hurt, victimized, humiliated, and create self-justification in harming the other. How do we break that cycle? And we, as a traumatized people, as a group, have a lot of work to do. And as individuals, well, folks always have a lot of work to do. So, I wish you strength over the next few days. And if it's engaged with fully, honestly, and at times perhaps even harshly, it's hard work. Let's turn over to page 520 and let's end for the Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol v'teh gedulah v'yaseh b'reshit asher sam chalkeinu liyached et shemo v'goraleinu la'hamlik ma'achuto. Zo begofhem amen. Hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efesu lato kakatu betorato v'yadata hayom v'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai Elohim v'shamayim ba'al v'haaretz mitachat ein od. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to know the glory of my mind, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us perfect the world by bringing it under your challenge rule. When all who invoke your name relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory, as it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever.
Shalom.
before you, O God. We think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life, and who are no longer in our midst. And on this Shabbat, we remember Arthur Conway, Jacques Gilbert, Minnie Casher, Muriel Millett, and Bernie, we wish you strength and long life as you remember your dear wife, Valerie Spielvogel. And would anyone like to mention the name of a friend or a loved one this morning? The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them which we will always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow, light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. Yitgadal Yitkadash Shemei Rabba, Ba'alma Divrah Chirutei Yom Lichma Gutei, V'chayechon Yomechon, Chayei B'chol Beit Yisrael, V'gala B'zman Kariv Imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Ve'olam L'mei L'maya, Yitzbarach, Yishtabach, Yitbarach, Yittermon, Yitnaseh, B'tadar, B'taleh, B'talal, Shemei B'kudashah, B'reichu, Ve'elom B'kol Birchata B'shirata, Tushbachata B'nechamata, Damiran B'alma V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Yom Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Yirullah, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu Yom Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol B'nei Adam, V'imru, Amen. Please be seated, everybody. And we have those
Adon Adam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yesir Nivra, Ve'et Nasa, V'ches HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Adon Adam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yesir Nivra, Ve'et Nasa, V'ches HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Ve'acharei Kilot HaKol, L'ba'ado Yimlok Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Omed, V'hu Li'eh V'hetiv Hara, Adom Olam Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yesir Nivra, Ve'et Nasa V'ches HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'hu Echad, Ve'en Sheni, L'chol Shilo L'chak Mira, V'li Rishit, V'li Takit, V'lo Ha'oz V'chamitzvah, Adon Olam Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yesir Nivra, Ve'et Nasa V'ches HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'hu Eli, V'haydoli, V'tzochem li V'et Sarah, V'hu Nisi, U'manosi, V'nan Kotzi V'yom Echad, Adon Olam Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yesir Nivra, Ve'et Nasa V'ches HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'ya'anov, Akiruchi, Ve'et Ishan V'ayira, Ve'imurchi, Ve'yati, Adon Ali V'lo Ira, Adon Olam Hashem Allah, B'terem kol Yesir Nivra, Ve'et Nasa V'ches HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra.
Nice. Well, the sages had it that Rosh Hashanah was the anniversary of the creation of the world. So let us follow that cue and each of us return to our primal beings for self-examination. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Well, we're ahead. If people
can help by sharing. That would be good. We are a little ahead today, which is a wonderful thing, because there is some schlepping to be done. So if those of you that can schlepp would schlepp, that would be a wonderful thing. There's plenty of space. I know there is. All that issue goes about. There's plenty of bring it on Thursday night. We'll bring things out.
I'm not all there, Daniel.
Okay. That's okay.
How did it happen? Well, I think they slipped. I think maybe he
I enjoyed the music. It was very great. Okay.
Music was fabulous.
Well, it was very interesting. Joseph bought some tickets on the Saturday match, and it was particularly now I get the both so it insisted on getting some tickets on Tuesday night, so I could see the Yankees, it would be far better. So I got tickets to they live
I'm going to see it.
37
Very good.
You can never meet past
Hey Joseph, does this hold up?
it's very, very.
I don't think so. It doesn't look like it's
At the dentist a few weeks ago. Excellent.
I can't. I'd like to lift it, but I can't do it. It's a standard.
Another day, I've seen you call it. I wanted to do with the camera.
sorry.
Lots of people here today. I guess it's a kind of everyone's getting into Rosh Hashanah.
Downstairs, what page?
Yeah, everyone's like a New Year's resolution, isn't it? Everyone's feeling like they should come to shore, which is good.
Are you supposed to Kiddush?
Very great.
And they may be able to give you a lift home if they're there.
But it's far worse than it is here. And he predicts
10 days ago. I know. Yeah, no, she told me. Oh, right.
That is true.
It's never been resolved.
No, that's true.
The arrangement is... Oh no, it's not true.
And on Monday, what I'm trying to do when it's not just
One a month.
leadership.
Yeah, one a month is one in September. This wasn't an official. No, it's just one of those things. Sure.
Wasn't it Esther's service last night?
Yes, yeah, I was just saying that.
Yeah,
but
The other thing that
Catholic
strikes me is also how
they all
difficult it is
came,
for anybody to
whoever was down there came.
16 of us.
you know, once you back yourself into
I
it.
put one few
Yeah.
We want God
I did not.
and that's projectiles will probably be.
They always ask
might be-
people to come up.
And then-
Oh, do they?
Everybody was willing to come up and there wasn't a million. So they
Well,
were
human would be set on
Yep.
Really? Oh, good. So you came to it? Were you here, did you say? No, yes, yeah.
They're lovely, sir.
So anyway, what was
we were
really
sitting in the
terrible
middle.
was we went down to the
Sitting,
street.
you know.
and
Oh,
we
right,
started
yes,
to
that's
play
fantastic, yeah.
play. And what's his name?
I think Mr. Mike used to drive as well.
Like the previous one,
Worse.
Oh, they're ready, are they? Oh, sorry,
I did sense that on the Sunday.
I thought you said you were every day.
And
Let's start carrying.
Yeah, well, it's me on my own YouTube.
Well, what you said before we, there's no point with the trolley.
Well, some of the stuff is a trolley.
Give me the sticks. Lindsay,
Yes.
come and take this out of the way. The sticks. Right. Lindsay,
Yes.
bring what you can here, look. But this scroll is sliding. If I take my foot away, see whatever you can bring, okay?
Mason, tell him make the announcement. Same 3 people every time. Yes, that's an idea.
what the league says will in turn determine part of our license.
Yeah.
And they can say verbally that they want to give us the same.
It's holding the door counts as
That counts as helping.
Where's
Well,
the
that's
third
why I'm
one?
interested in understanding what we would get.
Did Adrian take it? Adrian took the third one. Yeah, he took it as well.
Before,
Did you say so?
we're actually in maximum leverage now as time goes by.
And
Because
with
their mileage is
you know, and say exactly that. It was absolutely tolerant. Is Mosaic an appendage to your property? Or is it about the Are they still negotiating?
There's one item on my... Do you want me? I'll carry that.
I'll carry that. You push that.
Okay, right there, yeah.
Well, what's the one I do?
Different stages to it.
Sort of
There's
grape juice.
The contract for buying and selling. and there's
Which-
How many books were taken over?
We've done that, we've done that.
Enough
Yesterday. Enough books, more than enough.
And they're so secretive.
I lock it.
You
We don't
can't,
lock it really, do we?
there's no.
Yeah, we'll leave it as it is, yeah. Thank you.
We've done this before.
I haven't done that.
But for our part, we're not perfect in that if you see the list of all these different.
That's not going to go through the door. I mean, let's carry it down. It's so much quicker.
Well, it'll do what it is, right?
We don't need the baby scrolls.
Don't we? For not
We don't need them.
for your
It's not
We've
going
got no
to.
people, we've got no children.
It's a long, it's a slow burner, I think. I think it's going to take one more time.
ages if you don't need a baby
But
scroll.
these initial sort of borrowing do tend to be quite.
Yeah, I think my position is not to go either way. The important thing is whatever happens, it works. You know, I don't have a passion for building and staff. I don't think it's going to solve.
That's probably valuable for a baby scroll,
I
isn't
think
it?
it's based on a fantasy.
Yes.
But there's a chance of life for it.
They also will. Ultimately, it's their choice in terms of.
Can you do me a favour?
Let's go down the floor.
And that boils down to, in my view, because I'm so close to it, about relationships. The relationships, if they're guided by insecurity, which turns into aggression.
Oh, you were talking now.
Also nice.
Yeah. But if it's really a sense of collaboration and there's give and take of gratitude and stuff, then
Yeah,
they're very much caught up in their insecurity, which is really sad. It's a culture that is rather foreign to us. And that even in our most stressed moments, we didn't behave like that.
It's quite strong. It's quite a strong theme actually. We've seen it over the years. Well, this is not a one-off, is it? We've seen it. Harry's got a bit of that as well. Yeah,
completely.
Yeah.
And Kathleen as well.
Yeah.
It's their culture, whereas we, if we had it, we purged it, or maybe we never had it.
We probably had it.
A few members that we got.
Yeah, they're just not there anymore.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that, Stephen.
That's all right, Frank. I look forward to
tomorrow.
seeing you on Monday.
Yeah.